Hi, this is David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm live in the studio today with Adib Khaldi from Simple Picks. How's it going, Adib?
Good. How are you, David? Thanks again for having me.
Oh, always glad to have you on here. Well, and I know that sometimes we get a little long-winded, and so we're going to get right into it. Let's go ahead and take a look at Tesla, see how it's doing today.
Sure. Pull up our screen here. All right. Tesla. Well,
163.
Tesla dropped. Yep. Tesla did drop this week. I was actually
So
just
we
adding.
are we entering your buy? We're almost into your. Oh, we are into the
That's
top of
right.
your buy zone.
That's right. As you can see here, last week that was last week, I believe we kind of gave
Yes.
a call out at around 155 to 165 would probably be where I'll start to leg into this.
Mhm.
Um, so, again, essentially, we started covering Tesla back in November. On your show, we had predicted that Tesla, at the time, it was like $200, I believe. We predicted that it's going to go up to 260, 250, 260. It did so. We then predicted that it's going to come down to 200. It did so. And most recently, I said, I'm not really quite a buyer at 200. It's going to linger around there. But I would be a buyer in the 150s to 160 zone. That's really the sweet spot. So today, actually, one of our Discord members had asked me just my opinion on Tesla. I looked at the chart. I saw that it's near where I want to be in, just not quite yet. But I did action some calls today on Tesla.
Okay.
These, we'll announce them here. I'll write them down. And these calls are very high risk. I just took a couple just to test the waters out, start building my real position. Typically, when I buy, I'll buy equity, less options, but just kind of wanted to engage the community here. So the option that we bought was the March 28, 2024, $180 call.
Okay.
I think we got into that one at around $1.29.
All right.
Again, we only picked up a couple of these calls. This isn't financial advice. This is just pure our opinion and what we think of the market. The last time we gave a public call out, they went for over 100%. It was Lucid, I believe, in Rivian, and they went, crazy. Um, so this is the second call. Hopefully, we go 2 for 2. Again, we're just seeing our buy zone getting tapped here. March 28th gives us about 2 weeks time on expiry on these contracts. So it might not be enough time to really get back up to the 180 zone. But my thought process is that we get reversed from this downside here and nest somewhere up in the 180, just for kind of like an ongoing rejection to the downside, potentially, going as low as 150. So, am I extremely confident in this call? No. Am I taking a high risk bet? Yes. And that's just because we follow our conviction and we like to buy where we say we're going to buy a little bit early again. But this is what we're seeing here. So, why do I like Tesla around this zone? This was actually one of the biggest, one of the big recovery areas back in December of 2022. So this would have been a little over a year ago. Essentially, Tesla took quite a hit and went all the way down to $97 or I think $100, and rebounded. Kind of found its footing around here in the 150 zone before it kind of took off to retest the highs again and get rejected. So again, as just blank basic, price action theory of the market, we like to buy where there's support zones that have been established. Lots of buying volume came in there, and as you can see, not enough selling volume occurred to actually bring us down here. So this tells me that still major sellers have not hit Tesla yet, and that's why I'm nibbling. There's still a chance for the recovery to the upside there. So
Nice.
that's my thoughts on Tesla. And since we entered, it's up like $1 a share. Nothing, but looks like, hey, maybe we got something. I don't know yet.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and let's move on to Rivian, see how similar its chart looks. Because, last week we were talking about the fact they just had the news about the R2 and the R3 and all that come out? Let's see here. Rivian hasn't made a huge change. It's at $11. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, sorry. The wind is crazy outside. So.
Well, you've got a better connection, it seems, than last week.
Yeah, I gotta plug it in. I'm on Wi-Fi. So, anyhow, Rivian, I think last week said that again, the rebound zone for Rivian would be around that $10 range. I don't see it going much below the $10 range. And, whereas I did see some hope at the start of this week, it dropped like anywhere around like 10%, and then it recovered slightly back up to $12.50. We were actually looking at it. Some of our trading group people, were taking some calls on Rivian. But in my opinion, this is where I'd like to see Rivian hold. And essentially, I would like to just see it trend above, this $10, $11 mark zone for its chance to maybe retest the $15 mark sometime around, April-ish, May. So I give it about a 30-day to 60-day timeline to see $15 again. I think we're going to probably test that zone. I just don't really like the action that occurred here. They pumped it all the way to $24 for whatever reason on very low volume. And then the real volume came in here around capitulation, which is $10. I mean, anybody who would have bought 2 months ago, 3 months ago is effectively down 70% on their investment right now. So, that's not very healthy for the stock. But no. I think it's just a little bit of mind games before it begins its ascent higher here. So, as long as it holds this neckline around the $10 mark, I'm interested. But below $10, it's really going to get into a dangerous zone. So my best bet here is that we see next week a run up towards earnings, which are going to be on the 8th of May. So by the time earnings comes around, I'd like to see Rivian just kind of float up towards this $15 resistance zone. And then, at that point, based on the fundamental side of the business, the actual, earnings, we'll have a better clarity picture of how the direction is going to be on this stock.
Okay. All right. Great. Let's take a look at Lucid.
What are they doing? $2.70. It's entering the buy zone. This is where, I think I might have wrote something on Lucid. Let's just double check. Yes. $2.50 to $3 is the buy zone. I really like Lucid here, David. Why? Because it's getting really tight. As you can see, these lines were drawn a while ago, but it's respecting this kind of trading range. Although it is in a descending fashion, it is respecting it, and I believe again, the breakout is going to occur here for the run up to sometimes around earnings. I believe their earnings are also the 2nd of May. So I believe what will happen is this down channel is going to get somewhat of a kind of like a breakout and a potential up test here of this zone as well. Probably in the next, again, 60 days, I would say. Now that's obviously barring that no bad news hits the EV market, no legislation, no anything that is out of thought process. If we're not if the whole EV world gets some form of thing to weaken its value, then none of this will work out. Okay, but if everything trends as it is, no bad news comes out, nothing terrible, just buyers and sellers, I think we will trend up towards May report here that's coming up.
Nice. Okay.
But the EV market, I mean, is just is pretty depressed right now. I think with everything going on, Bitcoin and blockchains and lots of government elections and lots of things happening, I think it's all taking away from EVs.
It could be, and there seems to be so much getting pushed into the AI subspace. So much investment you got, and so that's why I decided we'd pick some AI stocks and also a couple of cryptos just to kind of see how things are going, because they are drawing thunder away. That's certainly the case. Let's look at NVIDIA a little bit, and NVIDIA's had some movement here that it's been kind of bouncing up and down.
Well, it's respected our lines, David. If you recall last time, I drew this line. I told you that it's a little bit above this line, but probably, I think we did your show on the 8th of March, right? That's right. So that would have been,
1 week.
That would have been really that candle right there that really decided the down movement, as you can see. I can't quite recall what I said on your show. I don't think I wanted to predict it, but I did say that if I'm going to give you anything in a call, that's probably the top of NVIDIA right there. And, again, significant amount of volume has come in on that day, more volume than, 6 months, maybe if we're going to even compare, volume for volume, maybe as far as even May of 2023. So, excuse me, it's been well over 6 months since we've seen this type of action on NVIDIA. So I think it's time to cool down. Yeah, of course. I mean, since December, just December of this year, it's up nearly 100% in the last 3 months.
It seems crazy how fast Ed and Supermicro have been growing.
I mean, if you bought NVIDIA back in 2023 January, just a little over a year ago, you're up 700%. So definitely it's time for it to cool down, in my opinion. And as you can see, there's no denying, obviously, like these super green candles on the weekly is like, what a monstrous move. But I think you can start to kind of see just a little bit based on my technical analysis that we're starting to respect these lines here. With these wicks that are coming in. Last week we wicked above it. Nobody liked it. They came back down. This week they tested just the line. Look, if you can just notice, it just tested that line. It didn't like it at all and rejected back down. So where do I see next week? Kind of like this. And a settlement back down at around, $700 or $600 zone. If we run it on one of our other systems here, just to kind of accurately see where we would land, I would say the landing zone would be at around $700, which is a pretty drop from here, probably a 15% drop from where we are right now.
Wow, that'd be a pretty big drop from where it's sitting right now.
So I am going to potentially top, and that was called at like $915, I believe, when you and I had a call. Yeah, it was like $950 and $930. So anywhere in that zone, I would short. I would begin shorting or establishing a short position there. Now, obviously, none of this is financial advice, so take it with a grain of salt. You can lose your whole pretty penny if you short a stock and you're not prepared. But do you really want to be long something that's up 800% in 6 months and in 1 year? I'd take my chances on the downside personally.
Okay. All right. Let's look at the other one. Let's look at Supermicro SMCI.
What did I think of them last time? I couldn't even tell you what I thought of them. I told you that they'll probably just keep trending higher.
They do just keep seeming to go higher, and then the little drop-offs.
Well, look, if it respects SMCI, that's a tricky one. That's a really tricky one. It's like trying to trade the whole momentum that it built up over the last, also 3 months. Like, this stock 3 months ago was $300. Oh my God. Like in 3 months time, this is up 300%.
Oh,
I
it was
just,
just announced. It was just announced the Super Micro is going to join the S&P 500 now.
oh Lord. Yeah, that could be a sell the news event. I don't know. But again, this breakout here, I really wish I had known about this stock then. This would have been an amazing buy because, again, it broke out of kind of like an upwards kind of trajectory, but it was being very, very resistant. You get a resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, resistance here again. So it took like nearly 6 months for it to get out of the zone. If you see like this initial line here, and then it was trading up off this line, it respected it, so it made $200 the new bottom, and then it broke out of that 340. And again, now we don't even know where the new bottom is. So what do I suspect it's going to land, just based on like basic price action theory? Is, again, I'm expecting that it just does something like this, and then kind of trends up like that way. Essentially coming down to earth, maybe hitting $700 or $650, kind of allowing all the profit taking to take place, and then probably using the fuel of the S&P to get more exposure to investors. I can't even predict this stock. It's gone too fast, too high, too quick. Again, I would short it. I would not long it. That's my preference.
Interesting. So let's see. Let's do a quick little look at GTEC just because I like them.
What are they doing? Oh, 225 to 280. It's almost at my buy zone. So last week we told you that it was a really bad move that occurred there. Again, it's probably not like their fault. They had some news there, drivetrain system business spinoff, whatever. That essentially is now coming back down to earth to retest where your buddy had bought it to defend his stock. So $2 is I think the sweet spot for GTEC right now. I think we're gonna test this 220 to 25 zone, and I believe they will survive here because of the confidence that occurred over here. And again, the selling that happened after this buy was like almost abysmal. That's why I just feel like GTEC doesn't have any news, and that's why investors are just dumping it, because there's no reason to continue holding it if they're not seeing a catalyst around the corner. And that's probably what it is. If we look at their earnings are not coming up until the earnings are the 27th of March. So that's definitely soon. And I think that it will probably bottom out at that 225 mark around earnings and continue to trend higher. If it breaks out of this zone at 225, I'm sorry, it's a goner for me. I would just not look at it until it's back up to this zone again.
So it gets back up to what? To about 250 again? Or 280?
Yeah, 225, anywhere between 225 to $3 is like your buy zone, as you can see here in my consideration. Above
you went
$3,
quiet.
I feel confident in it. Like when I was watching it, climb up going, they would have obviously, recovered earlier zones here as high as $6 or $7. But again, I just don't think the market sees that it has anything going right now in terms of like convertibility and revenue to buy them up. Again, like since the big buys that occurred back down here to protect the stock, almost no volume has happened. Like as you can see here, there's literally very abysmal volume. And that obviously is also attributed to the fact that it's a $34 million stock. I mean,
Yeah,
the volume today was 12,000. 12. Yeah, I mean, if we do the calc, 12,000 or 13,000.
$30,000 total.
13,000 volume.
It's like 30 grand.
That's little. Yeah, like
right.
If you go in and buy something for $5,000, you're moving their stock, or $10,000, like you're moving their stock. Right.
So, I get it.
It just tells me that there's just nothing happening. But when they do have something happening, hopefully the selling has dried up so much and it respects the integrity of this zone And I think it will, David, because 1, 2, and now 3, it's about to retest, and third time is the charm, in my opinion. It'll go there. So will I buy GTEC? It's just a little too small for me to buy. I don't even know, how I wouldn't like spook up the shares if I was to buy a considerable amount. So if you were going to look at this stock, guys, it's a highly speculative stock. But it seems like their CEO is strapped in and their team is strapped in. And that's something we like to see, because if you're passionate about what you believe in, typically investors are going to be as well, because they're seeing that you're putting in that work and putting in all your, your money where your mouth is.
I've got a funny one we're going to cover at the very end, because I just noticed that Yahoo Finance started covering Faith Tribe.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, that's great. Hey, that's one of our wins.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. But anyways, let's go ahead. Let's do Bitcoin.
Okay, that's a little peculiar, odd for your show, but
Yep,
we'll relate it.
I know. We're just, it's
Well,
worth talking, and it's not getting kicked out from the family dinner to discuss
absolutely,
Bitcoin anymore.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you something, David. I publicly on my live channels and on Twitter predicted the last bull run here on Bitcoin. I publicly went out back in January. I told everybody that $39,000 was the buy zone, 39,600. Whole and behold, the same day that I announced it, I think it was 18th of January, Bitcoin goes down to as low as, I think it wicked maybe to 38 or 39,000. But my buy zone for anybody that was considering it was 39,000. And as you can see there, barring that little tiny wick, that was the start of the whole bull run here that we just seen, because we almost realized 100% gain. Why I'm mentioning this, I like to think that I have a very decent grasp of where Bitcoin is going to go. If I'm going to predict where Bitcoin is sitting at right now, I'm just going to show you guys a weekly chart. We're going to run this through 2 zones. So you got your top zone right here. You got another kind of like this one in a way, but it's actually kind of like that off the low point. And you've got your most recent bump here that got tested right around here. That's your super breakout. So as you can see, Bitcoin is in a super upwards trajectory, just basic TA here. The bottom looks like it was put in around here, and that's pretty accurate in my opinion. And you've got 2 buy zones. Your buy zones would be, let me make a red line, and another red line. So that's where I see Bitcoin is at right now in its state of affairs. And again, being correct on the last call that we did, and many before that, I put a price target, although we sold. So full disclaimer, I'm not long on Bitcoin anymore. I exited around 63, 64,000. So I did miss this last, a couple of $1,000 push. My opinion on Bitcoin is that it's going to continue running up to just around, $85,000 to $90,000. I think that it's going to top out somewhere in this place right here, and potentially downtrend back to, I can't tell you where, but somewhere's back down to earth, 63, maybe 54, in this zone here where a lot of support has been established, in my opinion. So am I bullish on Bitcoin? Yes, I am. Very bullish on Bitcoin. I'm very bullish on Ethereum. And yeah, they are down like 5 and 8% today, which is fine when you're up 100% in a matter of a month. So I'm bullish. I'm not seeing any downside yet. I don't think this is the market's ready to sell. I think we're going to continue going higher into the summertime here. And my first target for Bitcoin is around $90,000. You know, $84,000 to $90,000. That's kind of where I'll start to say, okay, maybe we can consider shorting it now. But until then, I don't recommend you. Well, not that it matters. I don't recommend you short Bitcoin.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be on an upward trajectory for a while again, and then the Chinese will make it illegal again, and then it'll crash again.
Absolutely. The Chinese are just very notorious for coming out when there's action and volume in Bitcoin and literally trying to move it to the other direction. Like, we'd be in like 2024, so much adoption has happened, everybody almost owns crypto in the world, and then the Chinese will come out and say crypto is, wrong, it's a high risk, and you shouldn't own it. It's like, you guys were some of the first adopters to buy this thing. Now it's a high risk.
I suspect that a very large percentage of the Bitcoin that's been created has never been traded, and a lot of that is held by Chinese crypto farmers.
Possibly.
And so it always just makes you wonder why the Chinese would do that, other than the fact that it was using 1/3 of the nation's electricity at one point.
I mean, I think they just want to control the price. I think just like BlackRock, they don't own all the Bitcoins that they want to own, and they're not ready for it to go to a spot that they won't be able to obviously take advantage of it.
Yeah. I spent a fair amount of time trying to help people try to find locations to locate Bitcoin mining farms, where they could get power. That's the big issue, is getting power. And now, as I've been working in the EV space, I always see these comments about the grid being able to support EVs and things like that. Well, the funny thing is, according to Elon Musk, AI is causing a requirement for 10 times as much computing power every 6 months.
Wow.
Okay. And he says by 2025, which is next year, we're going to have worldwide shortages of electricity because it's all being sucked up by AI. And it's really kind of interesting, because it was, Bitcoin was a thing that was causing the shortages. Then it was EVs. Now it's AI.
That's insane. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
So what do they do to combat all this? I guess they just got to make more.
There's I don't know the solution, but every new data center that Google or other places are building, they're also putting in a corresponding amount of solar to support that data center. And it may not be like right beside it. It might be 1,000 miles away, but they're putting in the power, and then they're able to buy it from a power company to keep it going there. Let's look at Ethereum.
Sure. Ethereum. I'm a little bit more bullish on Ethereum. I think I really, really like the Ethereum ecosystem. So let's take a look here. We'll try you guys out. Most recently, $100. That was a big play. So okay, let's chart it the same way we did before. So this is how our chart kind of looks. Top down, you have just around this zone right here. You've got a bottom up somewhere around here. And we've got those 23. So this zone, and we can see clearly it broke out of that zone. And let's put our bottom in. So that would be just below that, actually. All the way up to here. And this starts to show, in a way, a picture. They should tell you where we sit on this breakout. So again, around the same time that I announced my long on Bitcoin, around the 18th of January or so, this was around, again, the start of this new bull run. And that was around like 2000. I think it was maybe like 1900. We might have caught it just around here, just a little bit beforehand. But that obviously took off, much similar to Bitcoin, up to the 4,000 mark. I think we hit a high of 4,100 on Ethereum, but it's coming back down to earth a little bit right now. Excuse me. Where do I see Ethereum happening? I can't quite predict on a shorter time frame. I mean, if we look at the daily chart, it's in a little bit of a toppy position. If we look at this right here as kind of like where the top zone is going to be, and then if I'm gonna see where it's gonna get caught, I'm going to just actually catch the bottom of this same wick and run it up to the bottom of this here. So where do I see Ethereum landing? Probably around 3,400. I think that would be a really great buy zone here, $3,400 on Ethereum for a type of trajectory to just kind of like go like this. So that's what I see on Ethereum. Right now, not very bullish, but I also exited the market a week ago before any red has occurred. So, and where I exited was below here, actually. It was like 3,700, 3,800. So I'm happy watching until I see 3,300, and then you can kind of ask me where we're going to things are going to go again.
You think 3,300 is the correction?
Yeah. I wouldn't buy Ethereum until I see $3,300 to $3,400. So that's my take on it. I mean, it's very difficult to obviously predict things that are now after they've broken out like 100%. Because if you say, well, I'm a permanent bull and I think it's going to continue going higher, you just sound like you are on hopium. And if you take a 5% decline and tell people that it's now bearish, then they'll tell you, well, it's up 100%. It's only down 5%. It can't be over, right? So I try not to like get myself too heated into these scenarios, but just basically on what I can see here, yeah, a small top has been put in for both Bitcoin and Ethereum, but only in the short term. So more people are looking at refuel and rebuy. This is just the start of the cycle, in my opinion. I don't think this is the time to exit crypto, if I would be honest.
All right. Well, let's. I warned you. We're going to do FTRB. Let's see if you can even pull it up on your trading view.
Okay, give me a second. Okay, I have about 5 minutes.
That's fine.
Sorry about that, guys. FTRB. Well,
yeah, we've never covered this on a show, and this is a shameless plug.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna tell you something. When you look at FTRB, you don't really want to look at a chart because this is like a micro coin, like a micro token.
Right.
I would just look at the market cap and I would look at the news and the catalysts that they're starting to build out. They have multiple catalysts in play. I believe marketplace that's launching. I believe they have a couple of smart contracts being deployed on a few chains. They're trending in the right direction. They're doing a lot of great stuff to really democratize fashion in a way, to be able to provide independent fashion designers the ability to bring their ideas to life, obviously, and not have to be constrained to one of the major fashion design brands like the Gucci's and Louis and you name it, right? Because, a small segment of the market controls the majority of the market.
Right.
So what Faith Tribe is doing is they're democratizing that. They're making, any independent fashion designer be able to kind of like bring their ideas to life, create digital fashion that eventually goes into the manufacturing process and gets put out as a real, branded piece from Faith Connection that's been around for over 20 years. So I think they're trending in the right direction, using the blockchain to finance their activities for their designers. And I got nothing but good stuff to say. If we just look at the metrics here, year to date, it's up 23%. But if we look at the last 3 months, it's up 65% to where it was sitting. So it is tracing the market. That's what I like to see, is that it's kind of going alongside with where the market is going, which means that volume is flowing in on average. Like, on the average 30-day volume here is like nearly 5 million. That's on average. So, it puts you at 300 to 500K a day if you're on a good day. That's decent. That's not bad. And I think it's growing. For a micro cap, I think it's growing, and the utilities that it provides are
It
excellent.
certainly went up a good bit when Wahid went on the Mario Knopfel show and
Yeah,
actually
of
talked
course.
about it.
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think I think Mario is an investor in it. So
yeah, he is. He's an investor in it. Full disclaimer: I'm invested in Faith Tribe. I support their vision, and most importantly, I just support the passionate team that they have. They've been around for over 20 years in this space, and they just broke into blockchain like a year and a half ago, probably around the worst time when it was a bear market. So I think this project needs to get some recognition, and hopefully we see some partnerships and some great releases be put on board for them, so they can really create value for all the holders.
well, I appreciate your time today. I know you're on a time constraint today.
Sorry. Yeah,
And
just a
no,
lot
I
of
think
back
this
to
has been good.
backs.
It was a little
Absolutely.
different covering a couple of cryptos today. Folks that are watching, we appreciate you tuning in. And I always feel fortunate to have Adib on here to talk about some of this stuff. And we will, you please keep coming back and watching more episodes. I'm going to go ahead and cut the stream for now.
Thank you so much, everyone.